This is going to be the site of our new house, and up over here apologize for the wind, it's just a really windy day here. You can see that white stake in the back there is where our mound system will be for our septic. And the house will be sitting right in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a site assessment for stray voltage and geopathic energies. Geopathic energies include a number of different things, from Cartman lines to Curry lines to underground water veins and a whole host of different energies. Alright, so these are dowsing rods. They were mentioned way back in the Bible in the Old Testament. And we use these rods to do an assessment of the property for stray voltage, which is from man-made sources, and geopathic energies, geo meaning earth, and so that means energy of the earth. There's a number of different energies that come from the earth, and those are all of DC, which means direct current. So the current you get like from a battery in your car, or even a small, like a AA or C or D battery. That's all direct current. So alright, this is how a house unit Ertlizer comes. When you order one, we can ship it directly to you. But to set it up, all you need is some type of a knife so you can open the box up. Then you'll need some type of a hammer. I prefer bigger is better, but some type of a hammer to install it. And everything else that you need comes in the box. So the instructions on how to install it come in the box. So basically you open the box up, remove your contents. We'll show you the black line on the dowsing rod. I apologize, there's a lot of wind today, so then we'll install the ground rod, and then we'll place the Ertlizer on the ground rod, and then we just got to plug it in. So that's what we're going to do right now. So the ground rod comes protected on the end, so it doesn't go through the box, so we just remove those, put those back in the box, set that down, and now this is a house unit Ertlizer. Okay, so this is a motorized device that I created. I have a United States patent on, and how it works is kind of like if you have a sub pump that you put in water and it sucks the water up into the sub pump and pumps it out the hose. That's the same thing we do with all these energies that are going around our property here, be it stray voltage or geopathic energy. We can collect it and redirect it off the property so it no longer affects us. So Ertlizer has a spot for the ground rod to go into, so that's labeled here. Then it also has what's called a discharge arrow on it. So that discharge arrow will tell you which way you can point the Ertlizer, because you need to point it in a safe direction. And if you look over across the way here, there is a neighbor of ours, so we would not want to point that towards the neighbor's house, because that would essentially pump all that energy over to the neighbor. And as much as some people always tell me, oh, point it that direction, I don't like that guy, I do like my neighbors, so we're not going to point it that way. So, but we'll probably point it towards the woods across the road here, and that's the direction we'll go with it. So we're going to go ahead now and install this. So we'll grab our tools. And as I said before, all you need is a hammer and something to open the box, and you're ready to go. So I'm going to set it up right here. Alright, the house unit Ertlizer runs off of just normal household current that you get from your outlet, and so you just take your cord into your, most places you probably have an outdoor outlet. My shop here, my existing shop, I do not have an outdoor outlet, but so we just brought it in underneath the door, and we're just going to plug it in here, and the Ertlizer is running. So now with the Ertlizer running, it's collecting all those energies and removing them off the property. And it's almost instantaneously that they'll be gone. But we're gonna shut down, we're gonna go back out and redo the assessment and just see if we find anything and go from there. So, okay, so our Ertlizer is running, and with our wind, you probably aren't going to be able to hear it. It's very quiet. As you remember before, there's an arrow on it for the direction of discharge. So right now we have it pointed towards the woods over there. So all the energy it's collecting from the property here is getting pumped off over there. So a lot of people ask, where is this energy going to go? And the actual truth of it is, it's the AC side of it, it's going to make its way back to a substation. That's the big fenced-in electrical stuff that you see sometimes on the side of the road or what have you, from place to place. So that's where that energy goes back to. So, all right, we're going to shut down now and reset for doing a reassessment of the whole property here, where we're going to build our new house. Alright, we're back here to do our reassessment of the property where we're going to build our new house out here. So we tested before for stray voltage and all the different geopathic energies. So we're going to go back through and we'll check for the Cartman lines here. So I will do this now. As you can see, my rods are not turning at all because the Ertlizer has removed all of that energy from this property. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to check for the east-west running Cartman lines. So I'm going to walk to the far end of the property and come back towards the camera here. As you can see, there are 0 Cartman lines here. So now we'll check for the diagonal Curry lines. Alright, that assessment showed 0 Curry lines. So now we'll do our stray voltage. And that's where we just used 1 rod. And if you remember before, we had lines that ran northwest to southeast going through the property here. As you can see, there's absolutely 0 stray voltage here. So with the house unit Ertlizer running, that removes all these non-beneficial energies from the environment here and essentially makes this a beautiful place to live. And not only naturally, but also electrically. So, and as we go on, we're going to keep recording different videos on the progress of our house here, from building the basement, which is going to be a little bit different than a normal basement. In this part of Wisconsin here, we have to have frost walls that go at least 4 foot down. So most people have a basement that's, 6 to 8 feet in the ground, and we will have that, but our basement's going to be made of a composite wall material that's basically manufactured just north of us here, about 3 hours, up in Eagle River, Wisconsin. It's called a Epstone composite wall system, and it's essentially a foam-filled composite wall that has an R value of 16.5 compared to a concrete wall that only has a wall that is 1.2 R value. So it has really good insulation value to it. Plus it also has built-in studs already, but it's a white wall, so you don't ever have to paint it. You don't have to finish it if you don't want to, but if you do decide to insulate it, you can actually get an R30 out of the wall. So it's actually a pretty nice system. So we're going to be incorporating solar, annualized solar heating into our house, which will amount to essentially putting warm air collected all summer long and blowing that through ducts underneath the soil of the basement, and that will warm that soil up and allow that soil to release that heat throughout the year essentially through the winter, and we'll have basically stored thermal solar heat for our full winter. Now we will be monitoring ground temperature with different temperature probes that'll go in underneath the basement. We'll have a greenhouse that we'll be growing some green vegetables all year long, which will also be part of our annualized geosolar system. We will be using natural sheep wool that's been harvested from local shepherds around for our insulation, and we'll be going over more of that too as time goes on. Actually, we'll be getting raw wool, and we'll have to wash it, and then we'll be essentially treating it with some boron to keep the moths and other insects off of it. And then in our bedroom, we're actually going to create a Faraday cage. So for those of you who don't understand or don't know what a Faraday cage is, a Faraday cage is essentially like a screen or a conductive material that encompasses a certain area, and any cell phone, radio signals, TV, anything like that will actually hit that cage or that mesh, and it'll be grounded out and doesn't get into the inside of that cage. And so essentially we'll be sleeping in an area that is free of all radio signals, cell phone, Wi-Fi, everything. So that'll be really interesting, and I believe extremely healthful to be able to sleep in an area that has none of that energy into it. We'll also be incorporating a lot of other technologies from Spancrete for our garage floor, so that we can utilize all of the space underneath our garage instead of just backfilling it with sand, and many other really cool and really interesting things. So stay tuned and subscribe to our channel, and we'll be basically posting videos as we go through the process of this summer here of building this house all the way through, and actually on into the next 3 or 4 years as we monitor the progress of heating up that soil underneath the house for our thermal battery to be released to heat our house all summer long. Oh, and the other thing, we will not be having air conditioning. We'll be using technology called earth tubes for cooling our house all summer long. So that'll be interesting, so stay tuned for that also. So this is Scott signing off for now. Stay tuned.